Join me as I dive deep into the classic story of Cinderella, exposing all the suffering she went through. Will she survive the torture? How did she get to Grand Ball? How was she found? Let's get into the full story. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a kind and beautiful young girl named Cinderella. She was the only daughter of a nobleman who loved her dearly. However, when her mother passed away, her father, believing he was doing what was best for her, married again, hoping to bring warmth back into their home. His new wife, Lady Tremaine, had two daughters of her own, Drizella and Anastasia. Though they were fair in appearance, their hearts were filled with cruelty and jealousy. Soon after Cinderella's father passed away, Lady Tremaine revealed her true nature. She no longer pretended to be kind and reduced Cinderella to the role of a servant in her own home. Cinderella was forced to do all the chores, scrubbing floors, cooking meals, and caring for the house. While her stepsisters wore fine gowns and attended grand events, she wore rags and slept in the cold attic. Yet, despite her hardships, Cinderella remained kind, hopeful, and gentle. She found comfort in her animal friends, mice, birds, and a loyal old dog, who kept her spirits high. One day, a royal announcement spread through the kingdom. The king was hosting a grand ball to find a bride for the prince. Every maiden was invited. Excitement filled the air, and Cinderella's stepsisters spent days preparing, ordering new dresses and jewelry. Cinderella, too, longed to go. She found an old gown that had belonged to her mother and worked hard to mend it. Her animal friends helped, stitching lace and adding beads. When the dress was finished, it was simple but elegant. However, when Cinderella appeared in her gown, ready to join them, her stepsisters were furious. Jealous of her beauty, they tore her dress apart, ripping the fabric and pulling off the beads. Laughing, they left her in tears and rode away to the ball. Cinderella ran into the garden sobbing. "Why must I suffer so?" she whispered to the night. Just then, a warm light surrounded her, and a gentle voice spoke. "Do not cry, my dear." Cinderella looked up to see a kind old woman with a glowing wand. She was Cinderella's fairy godmother. "You shall go to the ball," she said with a smile. With a flick of her wand, she transformed a pumpkin into a magnificent golden carriage. She turned mice into horses, a rat into a coachman, and lizards into footmen. Then, with another wave of her wand, she touched Cinderella's tattered dress. It shimmered and transformed into a breathtaking gown of silver and blue, with delicate glass slippers. "But remember," the fairy godmother warned, "the magic will end at midnight. You must return before then." Overjoyed, Cinderella thanked her and stepped into the carriage, which whisked her away to the palace. At the ball, the prince was unimpressed by the noble lady seeking his hand. But when Cinderella entered, the entire room fell silent. She was so radiant that everyone believed she must be a princess from a distant land. The prince approached her at once. "May I have this dance?" he asked. Cinderella nodded, and they danced gracefully across the ballroom. She felt as if she were in a dream. The prince found her charm, kindness, and laughter enchanting. They danced and talked for hours, lost in each other's presence. Then the clock struck 12. "Oh no!" Cinderella gasped. She turned and fled, dashing down the grand staircase. In her haste, one of her delicate glass slippers slipped from her foot, but she did not stop. She barely reached her carriage before the magic faded. The guards searched for her, but all that remained was the single glass slipper she had left behind. The next day, the prince was determined to find the mysterious maiden who had stolen his heart. He ordered his men to search the kingdom, proclaiming that whoever fit the glass slipper would be his bride. When the news reached Cinderella's home, her stepmother locked her in the attic, fearing that she might be the girl the prince was searching for. Meanwhile, Drizella and Anastasia eagerly tried on the slipper, but their feet were too big. They pushed and squeezed, but it was no use. Just as the prince's servant was about to leave, Cinderella's animal friends worked together to steal the key from Lady Tremaine's pocket. They carried it up to Cinderella and freed her. She rushed downstairs just in time. "Please," she said softly, "may I try the slipper?" Lady Tremaine tried to stop her, but the servant insisted. He placed the glass slipper on her foot, and it fit perfectly. The servant knew she was the one. He and Cinderella rode to the palace, where the prince was waiting. "You," the prince breathed in wonder. "It's really you." Cinderella smiled. "Yes, my prince." Soon they were married in a grand royal wedding. Cinderella forgave her stepfamily but never had to live under their cruelty again. She and the prince ruled with kindness, and Cinderella never forgot the power of hope, kindness, and a little bit of magic, and so they lived happily ever after. Share for more. Watch more virtualized fairy tale story videos on our channel.